Imagine stepping off your cruise ship, ready for an amazing day in a beautiful port, only to be stuck in a sea of people wasting hours in line. It's hot, you're sweaty, and it's just no fun at all. Doesn't have to be this way. Nothing is worse than wasting half a port day stuck in massive crowds while others are already out there exploring and having fun. The good news, the right approach cuts through the chaos and gets straight to the fun. I'm revealing 9 powerful strategies to avoid delays, navigate ports efficiently, and enjoy every moment of your cruise. Most people have no idea about this last tip I'm going to reveal. And once you know it, you'll never approach a cruise port in the same way again. So let's get started. Book excursions through the cruise line. Yes, I know there's pros and cons to it, but to navigate a crowded cruise port, this is arguably one of the best things you can do. Why? A couple reasons. One, it ensures priority disembarkation and smooth transitions. If you've got an 8:30 excursion and that ship gets into port at 8 a.m., guess what? You're going to be one of the first people off of that ship. Secondly, priority exit. Cruise lines excursions often, well, we already talked, it allows you to disembark before others. But once you get down there and you find your group, assuming everybody in that group bothers to show up on time, you get there, they check you in, you sign your waiver, they count heads, boom, you're gone. You get right out of the port, right away from everybody else that's wandering around, wondering what to do and where to go, and you're gone. You're on your trip, you're done. The other thing is the guaranteed return. In most cases, that ship will not leave without you if you're on a cruise-sponsored excursion. Yes, I know they don't have to wait for you, but they do when they can. They really try to. And the company that is running the excursion, they're bound by contract with that cruise line to get you back in time. So it's in everybody's best interest to get you back. Another reason why is direct transport. Those excursions usually include transportation, to and from, and that way you're avoiding taxi lines, you're avoiding any confusion, you're avoiding having to negotiate with the taxi cab, making sure that it's an actual taxi cab and not somebody's gypsy cab. You skip all the guesswork. It's pre-planned itinerary means you have less time where you have to figure things out for yourself. Next strategy, research alternative ports or excursion spots. So if you've been on more than 1 or 2 cruises, you know pretty much every island in the Caribbean, pretty much every cruise port has got 2, 3, maybe as many as 5 excursions that half the ship is going to do. Okay, they're the most popular. Swimming with the pigs and going to Blue Lagoon and going to Atlantis and on and on and on and on. If you've been to an island more than once or twice, you can pretty much name them. So how do you avoid that? Well, find other locations to go. Find those secondary beaches, the ones that are not as popular with the cruise passengers, but are still beautiful. Talk to some of the locals, do some research ahead of time. There are various websites like TripAdvisor where, people share their opinions on a port, on, a destination, and they'll have some ideas for beautiful beaches, great things to do that not everybody and their grandmother on the cruise line is going to be doing. Okay. Also, do that research, look for hidden gems. There are landmarks, there are destinations on each island that are not overly crowded. They're not tourist traps. They're going to be the beach where the locals like to go to swim and get some sun. Find those kinds of destinations. Most likely you're not going to be able to take a cruise-sponsored excursion to them. Maybe, but most likely not. So what do you do then? Well, you use another website to book an excursion, or you figure out where you want to go. You get to the port, you find a taxi cab, you tell them where you want to go, you negotiate the price, and you go. Another option, walking tours. If you're physically able to, there are, self-guided walking tours around most Caribbean islands, most cruise port destinations. How does this help avoid the cruise port? Well, you get off the ship, you're making a beeline for that exit, because you're walking, you know where you're going. You've got a map. You've got some spots in mind. You get to set your own pace. So if you walk out the gates to the port and you happen to be a crowd of 100 people who are leaving all at the same time, cool. Step aside, have a smoke if you smoke, have a sip of water, take a deep breath, count to 100, wait for them to get a block or 2 or 3 ahead of you, and now you can go. You don't have 8 billion people around you, and you can do your thing in your time. Timing of your visit. Now, there's only so much you can do timing-wise on a cruise ship, because that cruise is getting there at 8 a.m. They're leaving at 6 p.m. whether you're there or not. So time your visits. Go out, go early, go later in the day. Try not to be part of the mass exodus or re-entry. Try to go opposite them when you can, because cruise ship, like I said, cruise ships are going to leave whether you're there or not. If you can be first off the ship, which a lot of times is kind of hard because a lot of those excursions leave right then. But if you can do that, get out there, get it in front of everybody. Late return, if you're comfortable with this, some people are not, but if you're comfortable with this, most of the crowds, they're back on the ship or heading back to the ship 3-4 hours ahead of time. Say you're in port 8 to 6. They're off the ship at 8:30. They're doing their 4 to 5 hour excursion. They get back to the port. They wander around the port for an hour, buying their little trinkets. They're getting back on the board the ship by 2 o'clock or 2:30-ish. Okay. If you can stomach it, don't go back to the ship that early. Hang out in town. Go, plan on being back at the ship at 5 o'clock for a 6 o'clock departure. Now, I'm not going to tell you get back at 6 o'clock or even 5:45. I always recommend you be back on board and plan on being back on board an hour before that cutoff time, because stuff can happen and you don't want to have it happen to you. A lot of times the ship will provide maps of downtown shopping areas, things like that. Now, obviously, if you've seen these maps, you know that all of the local jewelry stores are highlighted on them because they want you to go there and get your free little trinket and spend some money. But it also gives you a map of downtown, or the city, the town that that is on that island. Use that map to find your way around, to find other things to do, places to go. Another option to avoid crowded ports: don't get off the ship. Stay on board. If you're on board and everybody else is gone, sometimes that is the best and most fun my wife and I have on board the ship, because it's quiet. There's no lines. There's relaxation to be had. And honestly, we have met some amazing people who have done the same thing and, didn't end up getting off because they've been to Nassau 33 times, just like us. So we end up having a lot of fun. The ship is, like I said, it's usually quieter, more open pools, more room in the pools, no chair hogs, or let's just say less chair hogs, and less children in the hot tubs. Plus, depending upon the ship and a couple other variables, there are the possibility of getting discounted spa activities and discounted specialty dining if you're, on the ship during a port day. If that's something you want to do, talk to them, either the specialty dining people or the spa people, before that port day. Okay. Another thing we like to do, if we're not getting off, we will explore the heck out of that ship. If we didn't see it all on embarkation day, we are going to walk that ship from top to bottom, front to back, going in every passageway we're allowed into. We want to get to know the ship. It kind of depends on, a lot of times we'll go, when we go on a cruise, say there's 3 ports of call. There are certain ports of call that we've been to many a time, and none of the excursions are just grabbing us, saying, please spend your money on me. So we'll just hang out. Don't be afraid to do that, unless you've got FOMO. If you've got FOMO, then you do you, go run around the port. Nothing wrong with that. Next up, if you're going to use local transportation, do it wisely, okay? If you can pre-book that transportation, there are various websites that you can go on where you can look at reviews of limo drivers and private cars, and not only see their reviews, but actually book them ahead of time. So they'll be sitting there waiting for you when you get off that ship, instead of having to hop in the taxi line and wait for your turn with the taxi. Buses, trams, a lot of times they're quicker, they're cheaper. You just got to know the routes. You got to know where they go, which one to get on. Use Uber and Lyft where it's available. It's not available everywhere, let's put it that way. But if it is available, sometimes that can get you in and out quicker, because you know exactly what car you're looking for, what color it is, the name of the driver, the license plate, all that good stuff. So you can walk to the Uber line, look down the road, that's him right there, go up, ask him his name, don't give him your name, ask him his name or her name, and hop in and get out. Walking, if you can physically do, walking is always an option if the port is close to a town. It's going to be less crowded when you walk on the streets. Not a lot of people are able to do that or want to do that. So, and honestly, you see things at a much different speed and therefore different perception level when you're walking. Another strategy when you're looking at itineraries and get ready to book a cruise, try and pick a cruise that has ports with multiple arrival points. So multiple piers. Like, I think it's in the Dominican, no, Yeah, in the Dominican Republic, there's actually, I think right now, 3 piers, and they're starting to build another one a little further away. You're going to have maybe 2 ships on each pier, unlike Nassau, which I believe that one pier holds like 8 ships now. It's going to make getting off the ship and back onto the ship easier because there's not going to be 12,000, 15,000 people all walking down this gangway together. Okay. Tender ports versus docking ports. Docking ports save time because you're literally right up against the dock. You can walk off the ship and go. Tender ports, you got to wait your turn to get on the tender. Then the tender takes 10, 15 minutes to get to the island. And then you get off and reverse that when you come back. So change your plans based on if it's a tender port or if it's a docking port. If you can go on a cruise that's got smaller ports, and therefore most likely you're going to be on a smaller ship, less traffic, less people, quicker in and out. A lot of this information, you might not be familiar with, but if you do some research, ask your travel agent, you can find the port logistics information readily available online. You just got to look for it. Another option, booking small group or private excursions. Okay. We did this when we were in, I believe it was St. Thomas. We didn't use one of the cruise ship excursions. We found through Viator, we found another excursion. This guy had great ratings, and he hit the spots that we wanted to see. Not all 18. There was, half a dozen things we wanted to see and do. And we got off the ship. He texted me, where it'll be and at what time. I replied, okay, great, we'll meet you there. We walked over to him. He had a little sign up with the name of the tour. Said, hey, we're the Stevensons. We're ready to go. Bing, bang, boom, we were out of there in 45 seconds, okay? Besides easing that crowded port nonsense, it means less waiting and more exploring. So if you think about it, you get on a bus of 50 people and you stop at, I don't know, Maho Beach in St. Martin. Cool. Great spot, novelty kind of thing. 50 people get off, you go out, plane comes and, you take the obligatory picture. Now you got to wait for 50 people to meander their way back to the bus, go to the bathroom, get something to drink, have a smoke, and then finally get back on board. So instead of being there for 20 minutes and boom, off to the next stop, you're there for an hour. Another reason that I like those private or small group tours, you can customize that itinerary. Like when we were in St. Thomas, there was a couple of places, like we didn't really need to go to another rum tasting. So we told, no, we're not doing that on this trip. He's like, cool, okay, no big deal. You have more when it's small, it's just your group or you're in a small group, you have a little more control over where you go and what you do, okay? And also, depending upon where you're at, depending upon the tour, you can get exclusive access, whether it be early access or special access to areas, to activities or locations that otherwise you're going to have to wait in line to get access to. Another way to avoid that crowd, returning to the ship early. Now, when we were in Cozumel a couple of weeks ago, none of the excursions grabbed us. None of them made us want to spend our money. So what do? We got off the ship. I think we got into port at 7:30, 8 o'clock. We got off the ship 9:30, 10 o'clock. We walked around port for a little while. We sat down, grabbed a little bite to eat, had a drink, took the obligatory pictures, and we're back on board the ship by 12, 1 o'clock. Why would you do that? Well, been there, done that. We'd rather be on board lounging at the pool when there's like 4 people in the pool than, when there's 804 people on a sea day. Plus, we're not going to ever miss the ship movement if we're back on board 4 hours ahead of time. There's no long lines in security when you reboard. It just makes the whole process smoother. Now, I'm not telling you not to enjoy the port. Arguably, that's what we're there for. But if you're done your excursion and you've done the little trinket shopping, I'll put it this way. A lot of people, and you see these bar restaurants all, right there in the port. Why would you get off the ship, do an excursion that you paid hundreds of dollars for, come back to the port, buy your little trinkets, and then go sit down at Carlos and Charlie's or Senor Frog's or whatever other restaurant and pay money to eat something and drink something there when you already paid for it on the ship? Now, if this is a unique, authentic Mexican meal that you're having, if you're in Mexico, or a Bahamian meal, okay, that's different. I'm not saying don't do that. I'm saying Senor Frogs. Nothing against Senor Frogs, party place, lots of fun, but it's the same food, whether you're in Senor Frogs in, I don't know, St. Thomas or Houston or Philly. Why spend that money? Get back on the ship. You already paid for that money. Anyway, just, me rambling. So here's my secret tip. It's not really a secret, but visit a nearby resort for the day. Why would I do that? A lot of resorts and hotels in the Caribbean, in, some other places that are on islands, they have day passes. You can get a day pass for $25, $50, $100, depending upon the resort. Now, a day pass at Atlantis in Nassau is $280. Don't go there. There are plenty of other places. Now, it's beautiful, but don't go there. Don't spend that money. Do some research online ahead of time. Find a beautiful resort that's got beautiful beach, great pool, maybe some live entertainment, something like that. Go on their website or give them a call. Well, go on their website. See if they do day passes. A lot of them will. All you got to do is get yourself there. Quick taxi ride. You pull up. Hi, I'm Eric Stevenson. I've got a day pass. All right, cool. No problem. They give you a wristband or a lanyard or whatever. You walk around. Some of them even include food and drinks with that day pass. Now you get to hang out at a beautiful resort. A lot quieter than public beaches. They've got better facilities. They got clean restrooms. A lot of them will let you take a shower. To me, it's a great way to spend a day in a port that you don't have an excursion to do. So some of the tips I've shared might seem a bit contradictory. Well, they are, but that's because everyone has different priorities when it comes to port days. Some people want to hit the ground running, explore as much as possible, while others want to just avoid the crowds, take it easy, go at their own pace. The key is figuring out what works best for you and using these strategies I've listed to make the most of your time in port. Now that you can navigate even the busiest cruise ports with ease, your next step is mastering your first Mediterranean cruise. Because if you don't, you could end up lost in unfamiliar cities, dealing with unexpected costs, and missing must-see sites. So I'm going to help you avoid all of that in this video.